Oh yeah. Bum, 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 bum.
Well, here we go, kids. Blessing and peace on you in the mighty name of King Jesus. Yep. Okay, friends. So look, I am not coming to you from the Open Door Church as I usually am. I'm typically in the studios behind the pulpit at Open Door Church. And at the time that I'm recording this is actually a Sunday, and I just got through driving home from Burleson, Texas. I live a little bit more than an hour away from the church. I live in a little town called Glen Rose, Texas, and I have a ranch that's called Third Stage Ranch, and I am upstairs at the studio at Third Stage Ranch. And I mean, it's been a big banner of a day. It's been a huge week, a huge weekend for us. It's been a huge banner of a day, but I'm going out of town tomorrow, so I had to get my podcast done today. So I asked my bride, I said, hey man, you want to help me do a podcast? And she said, okay. And so just joining me here in the studio here today at Third Stage Ranch is my beautiful bride, Leanna Brewer. Hello, sweet girl.
Hello, everyone.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I offered to sing, but he refused my...
Yeah, there's no need for you to sing. No, you can. Bust it out. I want to hear what you got. What do you got, man? What do you...
you know what? I'll save it for my big debut.
I've just been thinking on the way home, Leanna, what are the things that you and I could talk about? And there's just a lot of things that are so exclusive to you and I because we've had a front row seat to this ministry and to our, not only my walk with God and only your walk with God, but our walk with God.
Right.
Also, like today, I announced in all three services that, hey, man, we're doing the food outreach. Well, that goes back to me and you doing the food outreach, or I should say the homeless outreach.
It does.
And then I go, well, hey, everybody come out to the Open Door Food Bank. And that goes back to you and I doing the food bank at our house.
Yes.
And feeding people out of the back of our truck. I say, hey, man, guys, come out to Open Door Church. And that goes back to the very first church service that you and I did together, which was the last Sunday of September 24 years ago, which is crazy.
That's so crazy.
Can you believe that that's been 24 years?
No.
So what is it? And then, of course, we saw our kids grow up in ministry. We saw our kids grow up in ministry. We saw our kids grow up as PKs. And we were bound and determined to do things different with our kids. And while I will be the first to admit that I've not done a lot of things right, I do feel like that we raised our kids really good.
We did raise them really well,
Yeah.
and nobody does everything right. You don't know you've done it wrong until after you've done it, and you go, oh, wouldn't do that again. But that's a big part of raising them right, is admitting I wouldn't do that again, and telling your kids, hey, sorry, we wouldn't do that again. So when you have kids, please don't do that. And that's a big part of it. And we did raise our kids as PKs, but I don't think they ever had the pressure that normal PKs do, because we didn't put that on them, and we didn't let anybody else put that on them. We let them be uniquely them and choose the walk that they wanted to walk with the Lord, as long as it was a walk with the Lord. And all of them still were just really blessed. They all loved the Lord. All of our grandkids loved the Lord. They're all walking a walk. They're all very different. All 7 of our grandkids are very different. But we're okay with them being different.
Yep.
We don't try to make our kids be all alike, because the Lord doesn't make us all be alike. We're all uniquely us.
So we're talking family and ministry. That's what you and I are talking here for the next few minutes today. As I've already stated, we didn't do everything right at all.
Maybe.
And I'm not saying that we did. And I hope that everybody understands that. But here's what I am saying is all 4 of my kids love Jesus.
Yes.
They're all in their late 20s and early 30s. So we have a 31-year-old, we have a 28-year-old, and then the twins are now 26.
They are.
And then between the 4 of them, we have 7 grandchildren.
We do, and they're perfect.
And they're so much fun, and they're so cool. And they are typically here at the ranch, tearing up one end of this place to the other end, which is really cool. I woke up this morning with 2 little munchkins in my bed.
Yes.
And yes, I did. And so anyway.
Makes for an early Sunday morning.
It does. It does make for a very early Sunday morning. So the thing that I think that we did that is right, and again, we could focus. I could think of a bunch of things that we did wrong. More me than you, but just things I just didn't know any better. But one thing that God put upon our hearts from the very beginning is to tell our kids from the time that they were little bitty, if we have to choose between the church and you, we will choose you.
Yes.
And now we did that with the balance of, now it didn't matter if we owned a Mexican restaurant, we're still going to have to
Right.
work, and we're going to have to work really hard.
Right.
And too bad if you're mad over that, because we're not happy about having to work all the time.
Right.
There's an offense that goes to that. But we did teach our kids, no, that's not a church thing. That's a work thing. I promise
Absolutely.
you. That's what that is. That's not a God thing. That is a way the world works thing. And I'm sorry, but I got to work, and I got to work a lot. However, we did tell our kids two things from the very beginning. Hey, look, if we have to choose between you and the church, we will choose you. I also told them, if I have to choose between the church and your mama, I will choose your mama. And that
Good
was a big
choice.
deal. Yeah, no, it was a good choice. It was good. You dang Skippy.
Well, and something too that we did is we incorporated our kids in everything we did. We didn't separate them from what we did, and it really wasn't work. It was just a way of life.
Yeah, it was just the way that
it's
we
how
lived.
we live life.
Yep.
And we didn't shelter our kids from the missionaries that came. They stayed with us at our house. The kids got to go, and then the kids got to go on the mission field with us
Yep.
and see where our
They went with us
missionaries
everywhere.
lived,
They went with
and
us everywhere.
see how they live, and got to see the realness of what we do and the realness of the goodness of God. And they got to experience it for themselves from the time they were born. And so that's a big deal. And I think that is one of the things that the Lord has kept close to their hearts, is all of the memories of what they've got to experience personally with the Lord. And they have that for themselves. You know, they all have very tender hearts, and they're all hard workers. And they all, they all love different things about ministry. They're all very different.
Yes.
But they do love ministry, and it's part of their lives as well.
So it's amazing because, all four of them, grew up in the same house, same ministry, same parents, yada, yada. But the bottom line is they're also different. I'm talking about hardcore different, right? And so what are you looking at?
They all have parts of you in them.
Yeah, all the bad parts. That's what you say. And listen, I want
They
to tell you
don't have
something,
bad
guys.
parts.
Man,
They all have good parts.
Yeah, listen, man. If you're, parts are parts, right? Sound like
apart.
an old school McDonald commercial. Parts are parts. But we also told the kids from the time that they were little bitty. Oh, well, wait, let me stop this. We never put them on stage and said, "This is the picture of righteousness."
Oh Lord, no.
No,
Because
we
we're
never did
not that.
Yeah,
We're not
we
that.
never did
don't.
that. So, put that pressure on them. They were just knucklehead kids like everybody else's kids.
Absolutely.
And there's something else too we didn't do. We wouldn't let anybody think that they were somehow more bad than any other kid is,
They were just kids.
They were just kids, and we let them be kids.
Like you said earlier, whether we were in ministry or we were doing whatever it was we were going to do in life, the rules that they had were the rules that we had because we're their parents, not because we were in the ministry.
Yes.
And I think that made a difference too, is we didn't set up our rules according to what our job careers were, our life choices. We set them up from our own personal experience
Yes.
with the Lord, and said, this is the rules that we're going to have, and this is the atmosphere of our house, and this is the culture of our house, and
Right.
that you're going to follow those rules.
Here's something else that we did that is really good, and I would highly suggest this to anybody that is doing this. And here's what I would say is we told our kids from the time that they were little bitty, when you grow up, you're not expected to be a pastor. When you grow up, you're not expected to be a preacher. When you grow up, you're not expected to work here at the church. What you do with your life is your business. Right on. I mean, we actually did that.
Absolutely.
And we would tell them, look, our calling is our calling. We're going to find out what your calling is. Now,
Right.
you will love Jesus.
That's
you
right.
will. But we also told our kids, we told them, whenever you grow up and you want to go to some other church and you don't want to go to our church, that's not treason. It's not
Right.
treason if you do not go to our church.
But when you have grandkids, they have to come to mine.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
You can go wherever you want. But
Yeah,
the
you can
grandkids
do
have
whatever
to
you
come
want,
with me.
but you better
Yep.
bring us those grandkids. So, but I mean, we didn't, and all four of our kids have tested us on that.
Yes, they haven't. Didn't last long, but they did. But
Like, we're going to do some other God thing without being a part of y'all. Like, really?
Right,
Who's
or-
cool like us?
or for like 2 whole weeks, just not go to church. That didn't last long
like,
either.
no, that don't last long. But honestly, I mean, but you have to, you have to establish the fact that there is the relational part of this that is family.
Yes.
And then there's the relational part of this that is kingdom. And then there's the relational part of this that is ministry. And while we are always going to be family, we're always going to be in kingdom, we may not always be in ministry together.
Absolutely. Well, and ministry is different for everybody. Ministry is not just pulpit. And that's something we taught our kids is ministry is the way you live your life. And in whatever place you decide to work, whatever vocation you decide to go into, you take the kingdom with you, and that is ministry. And 3 of our 4 children have chosen the medical field, which I'm grateful for because they did not get that from me at all in any way, shape, or form. And then our other one is in sales, and he absolutely loves it. And that's not something either one of us do, but they all 3 take the kingdom.
Yeah, no, they do.
They all 3.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this challenge. So are we happy with all 4 of our kids?
Well, of course.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, we have great kids.
We're not trying to point out. We are raising up people in the Lord in ministry that we want to point to them and say, okay, they were here and now they're there ministry-wise. But that's not the role that we have as parents with our kids.
Right.
That's ridiculous. And I just think that a lot of pastors and a lot of men and women of God have really got that wrong because they couldn't see the difference between ministry, kingdom, right, and family. They couldn't see the difference between those things. It's just super important to be able to see that.
It is super important.
So I also want to talk to you about this. So we're pastors, and you come from a very conservative background. I'm talking about right wing of
I'm Donald Duck.
Yeah, man, I'm good grief. You come from such a. Now, what's amazing is you grew up in a foster home.
I did.
Because your parents were foster parents. So
Right.
there's 5 of you siblings.
Yes.
And then, but your mom and dad raised over 300 other kids besides the 5 of y'all.
They did, and they adopted 12 children.
And they adopted 12.
There's legally
and your
12
mom
adopted.
is like old, and she's still got a house full of kids.
She's still rocking it. Yes, she does.
She's a rock star. I love your mom.
Yeah,
By
she's
the way,
77.
She's 77, and I took her to California here a few months back. She went to the NRB with me. And did she or did she not ride all the roller coasters?
She rode
at Disneyland?
every one of them. She had not been back to California, which
77, dude.
Yeah, which
She's
is where I grew
nut,
up.
man. Honestly, Leanna, and can you believe I got on the Tower of Terror?
I could
because
not.
you know how horrified of heights I am.
It was really funny because you were like, we're not going to do it. We'll just go people watch or whatever. And then when she
she's
got
like,
in that line,
she wanted to get in that
look
line.
of horror on your face
God, I was praying in tongues. I was praying in the Holy Spirit. I did not want to get on that stinking ride, and man, I did, and I sat right next to her. I tried so hard to man up.
And the best part was the picture they take when you're on their ride. She's got her hands up and she's laughing, and you have the worst look I have ever seen on anybody's face.
Just horrible pain because I'm so scared of heights.
It was terrible.
It was horrible. So anyway, so your mom and dad you grew up in a house that had some of the most troubled kids on the planet Earth living with you.
Yes.
But your house, so there was like a chaos that came with them that you adapted to super, super, super early.
Yes.
But there was also a stability in your house that you never questioned.
There was a great stability. There was no question whatsoever that you were loved, whether you were biological or you were a foster, you were a neighbor kid, you were a cousin, whoever it was that was at our house. There was no question that they loved you. Absolutely. And there was no question that they loved us all the same amount. They loved us different because we were all very different, but they didn't choose one of us over the other one. And ever, we never felt like we were being someone was chose over us. And some of them had some serious problems that it required a lot of attention and stuff, but they were somehow able to manage it where we just never felt like we weren't the most important people to them.
I remember whenever you and I when I first started noticing that you wanted me really bad, and you were always looking at me, and you were just like, Troy, I love you. I want you to be my husband. I was like, I don't even know you. Who are you? Anyway,
I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
You're just irresistible.
For all of you who are listening, I hope everybody knows how full of bull I am. But honestly, I remember I looked over and I saw you, and I just, as a matter of fact, I need to go ahead and tell this story very quickly. I was introduced to you.
Yes.
And the guy that introduced me to you said, you need to meet your future husband. And that was how we were actually introduced.
That was how we were
introduced. And the reason being was because I didn't know that this guy had been your boyfriend. I had no idea that. And I just said, dude, who is that girl right over there? He said, which one? And I said, that girl right there. And he said, her name's Leanna. I said, brother, I'm going to throw her over my shoulder and haul her off and marry her. In my old hillbilly teenage ways as I was.
Yes, you were hillbilly.
And it made him mad, And so when you came up and started talking to him, I was just standing there like, huh? Dude, you need to introduce me. And I had no idea that, I had no idea any of that. And he introduced me and said, you need to meet your future husband. So here you were, you had Cyndi Lauper hair. You grew up in Los Angeles.
I did.
And then you moved to North Fort Worth.
Yes.
And I mean, here I was in overalls, not just overalls, but actually my great-grandfather's overalls, which was literally like 70 years old.
Was an understatement.
And had huge holes all in it. No shirt on underneath my overalls, just overalls, and then a hat that was all beat up.
And you spoke like a different dialect. It was some kind of English, but you didn't have a speech problem.
Fine now.
I couldn't understand half of the words that you said. I was like, I don't even know what that word is.
I came from a different planet.
I don't know what that word means. And you would have to like explain to me what you were saying in like regular English.
Yes. Well, I'm the great communicator now.
You are.
So when people see me, they have no idea that this is the refined.
I know. And so, in that, for the people who do know, you can look at it and say, wow, that was the Lord, because you were as hillbilly gets.
Oh man, we had a very interesting childhood. I had a very interesting small town childhood, and it was great. So I'm going to say this, that whenever I first got to know you, I honestly thought you were a rich girl because, I mean, you just dress so nice and you just always look so beautiful and you just took such good care of yourself. You were so prim and proper. I thought, yeah, you got a rich family. You're a rich girl. I mean, I've known you. We've been married for 31, about to be 32 years. And plus we dated for 4 years before that. I've never heard you say a cuss word.
Thank you for saying that, because at church the other day, you said that I said bad words, and my mom was listening to you, and she did ask me about that. So I'm going to make sure she hears this and hears that I do not say bad words.
In what context did I say at church that you didn't know what it was?
I have no idea.
It was something
you said something about
you
get
make mad me mad and say bad words or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, whatever.
So thank you for clarifying that.
I repent.
Thank you.
I have never heard you say a bad word. Never. I mean, it's just not what you do. You just don't do that. Now I do. And I have to have a lot of self-control. And I have to have the power of the Holy Spirit to guard my mouth.
You clearly didn't have your mouth washed out as a child.
Oh, man. So,
or you liked the soap, one of the two. I'm not sure.
I was going to say, I would eat the soap. That's what I do.
I believe that.
Right on. I know
believe
you believe it. So anyway, I thought that you were like this rich girl from some hoity-toity neighborhood. I go over to your house, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. We go over to I drive over to Chestnut Street in North Fort Worth. It is the hood of the hood of the hood. It is nothing but crack house, crack house, crack house, crack house, Leanna's house, crack house, crack house, crack house. And I mean, I'm walking.
You know what? Some of those people were nice people.
Leanna, you grew up in a horrible part of town. I'm talking about it was bad. And here's your house surrounded by all of these crack houses, all of these gangs, and yet you and your brothers and sisters love God, don't drink, don't cuss. You were the only one that went with boys that did.
My parents questioned that. And actually my brothers questioned my...
and love God and just do what you do and are awesome. And it's like there was this bubble around your house, and you had all these foster kids coming into your house that were so messed up. Yet, and by the way, they wore your clothes. I remember the first time I ever bought you a dress, because I love to buy you clothes.
Yes, you do.
I bought you the dress on one day, came over to pick you up the next day or the next day after that, and one of your foster sisters was wearing your dress. And I remember it made me so mad. I was like, why is that girl wearing your dress? Like, well, she just went into my drawer and went and got it out. And sometimes that happens, Troy, and it's no big deal. I'm like, what? What? I mean, that's just crazy. Well, I say all that, number one, to give honor to your dad and give honor to your mom. Your dad has since gone to be with the Lord.
He has.
And he's been gone for how many years has he been gone now?
9.
There's no way he's been gone 9 years.
9 years.
Has it seriously been 9 years?
It has been.
My goodness.
It sure has.
And so, and your dad and I were super close. Your dad and I were like
my dad
really good.
loved you.
And your brother Daryl, who works with us, he's
Yes.
Pastor Daryl at Open Door Church. He's our missions pastor. And he also works for Spark Worldwide and directs all the missions of Spark Worldwide. Daryl says, well, you were always his favorite out of all of his kids.
My dad loved you very much.
Oh, he did love me because he was bad like me.
No, my parents, even though they had a heart for everyone, they just had they had a unique gift of being able to see the goodness of God in everybody. And the very few people that they didn't, they would tell us that's an absolute no. And I could think of 2 or 3 people
And
that they
knew what
told
they were
us.
talking about, didn't
They knew what they were talking about as I got older. But because they never did that with anybody, we were around so many different kinds of people. When they would say it, we believed them. And then when I got older, I saw it and I went, wow, they were
Every
really right.
race you can possibly imagine
race
was in your house.
Absolutely.
You grew up with
every
that.
nation, every tongue.
and every kind of culture within all those races was there. My God, Leanna, it was incredible. I remember, I'm serious, when I went over there, I couldn't believe it. I just was totally shocked. Now, I want to finish up because it's just about time for us to finish, but I want to throw that into, you brought that into our house and just went, well, yeah, there's a lot of chaos and craziness that happens in ministry. There's a lot of, crazy, but it's no big deal. It's just no big deal. Your attitude throughout the years has been, it's no big deal. And then our kids, which as our kids grew up, and then when they all decided they were going to stretch their wings and test everything,
Right.
Their late teenage years, their early 20s, when they're all like, okay, well, you said, and I'm like, no, we're not saying you can be bad. We're just saying that you can be you. That's what it is that we're saying. And I mean, like, okay, like you and I, we are not tattoo people.
No.
Okay. Do our kids have tattoos? Yes.
2 of the 4, yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And I am not, because my dad did have tattoos.
Okay.
And he absolutely told all of us kids, you do what I say and not what I've done.
Mom, Dad, hear me say this to you. If your kids grow up and get tattoos and that's a game changer for you, that's on you.
Absolutely.
I mean, and dude, one of our kids has, if I could just say this, it is the most stupid tattoo I've ever seen in my whole life. He literally got the word bacon tattooed across his chest in bacon strips. Am I making that up, Leanna?
You're not making that up.
Okay, I'm sure there was drinking involved in it.
I'm sure. But I will say, we just got back from the 700 Club on yesterday, day before. I don't know. And we were in the airport in Norfolk, and all of it, everybody's a military base. So everybody in there was pretty much in the military that was flying home. And I've never found a tattoo that I thought, wow, that's a really cool tattoo.
What?
Except for was this big old, I don't know what he was, a Marine. They were having a joint force thing. He comes in and he's got these big old arms, a big old mean, tough looking guy. And on both of his arms, all the way.
I know what you're talking about.
It was the coolest tattoos I've ever seen. And it was the whole book of Dr. Seuss of all the places we'll go. And he had the whole book on both of his arms.
All the places you'll go. And that's so you.
That is like my favorite book. And I was like, that is the coolest tattoo. So if I get one, which I won't because I don't like needles.
It's funny because, with our generation, that was like a bad thing. If you went and got a tattoo, that was a bad thing.
Absolutely.
It was like bad.
Absolutely.
And it's not now, obviously. And if that is a game changer as a parent, like, what did my friends find out? My God, if the worst thing that your friends ever find out about your kids is they went and got a tattoo, what a blessed life you have.
And if you have friends that are so concerned and consumed about what your kids are doing,
rain on them,
then you might need to change friends.
That's good, Leanna. That's good. Okay, so let's just kind of rehash real quick. Number 1, we told our kids, if we have to choose between you and the church, we choose you. Number 2, I told the kids, if I have to choose between your mama and choose the church, I will choose your mama. Number 3, we told our kids, if you grow up and if you're not in ministry, that's okay with us. You do you, and we're going to do us.
Right.
Number 4, we told our kids, if you grow up and if you don't go to our church, that's not treason.
Right.
You're still in the family.
Right.
Okay, we did that. I would say number 5, once they grew up and they were different kind of people, how they expressed themselves, the choices that they made, once they were out of our house, we, obviously we're not going to sit around and be quiet if they're doing crack or something like that. But I mean, I'm just saying that if they make choices that are not choices that we have made, and if they make choices that we would not make because they're not good for our ministry or they're not good for, they're not in alignment with our assignment, that's our alignment.
Absolutely.
And that's our assignment, and
Absolutely.
it's not theirs. I would say number 7, if I could say this, I would also say this, that something that we did, we included our kids in everything, and we did not do it as a job, we did it as a lifestyle. You mentioned that.
Yes.
So, I mean, we just, like if we were broke, which was all the time,
Right.
we would literally go and find all the change that was in the couch and all this and say, let's go give this to somebody.
Yes.
And let's give all that we have.
Yes.
We took our kids with us all over the world. We never put our kids on stage and said, look at the picture of righteousness. Our kids are perfect. We never treated our kids as if they were bad. Never.
Right. Because they weren't bad. They were never bad.
No, they're knuckleheads, but they're kids and they're supposed
Absolutely.
to be knuckleheads. Oh my God. I'm about to start. No.
Well, I will tell one story. We were in Mexico, and we had been doing a food outreach with Mission Divina, and we decided to go over the border, and our kids were all small. I think Megan was, I don't know, maybe 9. And so Ben was 5 or 6, and the twins were like 3. And we decided to walk across. That's when it was real easy to walk across. We walked across, and we got in a cab over there, and we had the cab driver drive us around.
Meaning we walked across the Rio Grande.
Yes.
And then we found a cab. I mean,
Yes.
can I tell you we were crazy for doing that?
And yes, I told you at the time we were crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But you didn't listen to me.
No, I'm sure that's not the case.
And and so I don't mind myself going anywhere in the world because God has not given me a spirit of fear. And I guess it's from growing up in the neighborhoods that I did. But when I have children, it's a little different, especially when they're little. But anyways, we went across, we got in this cab, and the cab driver, his seat was broken. So his seat was on a cinder block, which was a little sketchy. And he's driving, and the man doesn't have thumbs.
No thumbs.
No thumbs. And so Ben, being Ben, asked him, what happened to your thumbs? And the man said, I owed some bad people some money.
No, the money. That's
And
what he said.
Yeah, and Ben was like,
cartel cut him off.
So Ben told us we got out of the cab and we were coming back, and Ben said, we need to do a food outreach there.
Yeah, it was actually Luke. It was actually Luke that said that. Luke was like, I still remember, he was just looking around, he sees all this poverty. He was a little bitty guy.
Yeah, he was so little.
He's like, Mom, Dad, we need to do an outreach down here.
Yeah, and so they've
just
always seen that.
Yeah.
They've always known that. You know, I can remember when Luke was like 9 years old, there was and mind you, at this time we were so poor, it wasn't even funny, but it didn't bother me. There's a lot worse things than being poor.
Yeah, you grew up poor.
I did, and
poor.
so you know what? You can be creative and be poor, but Luke their birthday was coming up. Luke and Raymond's birthday was coming up, and it was his 9th birthday. And there was a single mom in the church that had 3 kids, and really good lady. And I remember asking Luke, what do you want for your birthday? Because my parents, even though we were poor, they would ask us, what do you want? And they would always somehow, some way get us whatever it was we wanted for our birthday. And so I'd always ask my kids, what do you want? What specifically do you want? And luckily Luke was cheap. He always liked the little plastic army men that only cost you like $1.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was easy. But this time he said, I want money. And I said, why do you want money? What are you going to do with money, Luke? And so he asked everybody in the family for money. And I asked him, I said, why are you wanting money? What are you wanting to buy? What are you wanting so that I can buy it for you? And he said, I want money so I can give it to Miss Angie.
Yeah, right.
And oh my goodness, that broke my heart. And I was like, how amazing is that?
No, that was good. Look, you're starting to cry
But
right
I
now.
know, it just made me so proud. But our kids have always been like that.
No, they have.
All 4 of them, they're like that. If they had something.
Megan is like that. Rayma is
Absolutely.
like that. Luke is like that. Ben is like that.
They give you, poor Ben, thank God he married somebody with financial
I
sense,
know.
because the boy went to work at Kroger, and every week when he'd get his paycheck, he'd come home and he wouldn't have any
There's
left.
no money on his check.
Ben,
like, why?
where's your paycheck? Oh, well, this person needed groceries.
He's paying
Or
for
that
people's groceries.
that person's water was being turned on, and he never came home with the paycheck.
No, he worked there for forever and never got paid. He ended up paying them
That was
he gave
so
us
awesome.
like, dude, What? Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, friends, listen, you are listening to Troy and the amazing Leanna Brewer, Pastor Leanna Brewer from Open Door Church, and she's doing a podcast with me. Guys, we're talking about raising kids and the challenges of raising kids in ministry, and I hope that you're enjoying this. Friends, listen, if you have not yet subscribed to this podcast, man, I encourage you to do that. And Leanna, honey, will you come back and do another one of these with me?
I will. I'll be happy to.
I was listening, we're about to wrap all of this up. And do not forget that we do a prophetic Wednesday every single Wednesday. It's not pathetic Wednesday, it's prophetic Wednesday. Every single Wednesday on my Facebook. It's a live broadcast wherever I'm at in the world. I always try and do that. We do have our big 2020 conference that is coming up. And oh my goodness, guys, January the 20th. Patricia King and Jamie Galloway and Rabbi Jason Sobel and a whole bunch of other crazy cool people are going to be joining me. Friends, you can get your tickets for that and all of our resources at troybrewer.com. So listen, friends, Leanna and I are praying for you. We believe God. And such as we have, we give unto you in Jesus' name. And say this to you, that if you haven't seen a breakthrough with your kids yet, man, do not give up. Don't give up on your kids. Man. Don't give up. Don't give up on them. Keep on going after them. Friends, I call you guys the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, and highly favor the Lord. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.